Good morning and welcome to the 2019 Mayor's Power Breakfast. This morning we're excited to have each one of you here, a record crowd in this room, and for those that are on our live broadcast, we welcome you to this event. We have our city mayor, Mayor Joe Pitts. Joe's been very active in our community for years, even starting at the Chamber of Commerce, working through the banks, and has been our representative greatly in the 67th district for many terms. We have our county mayor, Mr. Jim Durrett, that has both had experience in the city for working for the city for many years, as well as now our county mayor. Both men have a true heart for our community. They also have two major assets, each one of them. Each one of them have lovely and wonderful supporting wives. So give a round of applause to Miss Cindy Pitts and Miss Mary Durrett. Stand up, ladies. Yes, stay under wave. Give them a round. With that being said, I'm going to turn over the floor right now to Mayor Jim Durrett and hear a few words from him. Mayor Durrett.
These remarks don't want to come out of this little hole. That may not be a good idea or a good omen. First of all, let me say good morning to each and every one of you, and thank each and every one of you for your support for the Clarksville Chamber of Commerce. Chamber plays a big role in our community, and without your membership and without your involvement, this day wouldn't be possible. So Melinda, to you and all the staff down at the Chamber, I think we all owe y'all a round of applause for what you do. I have just a few introductions, and then I'll have some brief remarks, and I really am looking forward to your questions, and I want to give this gentleman to my right as much time as he needs so he can tell y'all all about himself, since he's kind of the new kid on the block. First of all, if I could get our county commissioners to stand up. I think we had 19 out of 21 that signed up for this morning. And I know we have several of our elected officials here. I know if you would stand up, please, our elected officials. Several department heads from Montgomery County? Maybe not, maybe just one. All right. And then just a couple more people that are really part of the overall team of this community, and that's Mr. Millard House. Mr. House, stand up. And also President White from Austin Peay State University. And then lastly, I want to thank two groups of people. Well, really, I just want to thank some people. So first of all, I want to thank the staff at the mayor's office. Jeff Truitt, our chief of staff, Debbie Gentry, Shelley Baggett, Melissa Smith. Emily Matthews couldn't be with us here this morning. Her mom's sick. But if y'all would, please stand up, because I couldn't do what I do without y'all. And my wife has already stood up, but Mary, thank you. I couldn't do what I do without you, and you put up with a whole lot, and I appreciate you more than you'd ever know. So thank you, and I love you. Oh, wow. And lastly, I want to thank God. Without him, none of us would be here. But about 4 years ago, I stood here about this same time, and I was 141 days into office. And I guess you could say I was the newbie back then, but we got a new newbie on the block now. But I was excited about what the next 3.5 years would bring, and I was really, I didn't know a lot about the job, but I knew a lot about government. But I was really excited about what opportunities our community had. And I told you about a program that we just started. It was called Students on Committees, and we changed the name of that to Emerging Leaders. And we started off with about 12 students, and now every year we average about 4 students that are involved in county government. They come to our committee meetings, and they're learning about county government. I think it's a great program that gets our youth involved in what we're doing. I also talked about opportunities that we had. I talked about the Jenkins and Wynn property, the Bank of America property. Today, Austin Peay is occupying the Jenkins and Wynn property and has great plans for all of that property. Downtown Commons sits where Bank of America used to be. We talked about restaurants and retail downtown. Since 2015, we've added Yada Yada, Rue, Strawberry Alley, Ale and Brew Works, Hot Pita, Journey's Eye, Hey Noli, Vinyl, Golly G's, and the list continues to grow. Economic development was another topic that we discussed. Hancock had recently broke ground. It's kind of funny, right after I was elected, we had that groundbreaking, and we spent hours in my office, for me, trying to learn how to say Hancock. And it was a struggle, but we worked through it. But the funny thing about it is we meet with those folks once a month now and have just a truly great relationship with the leadership of Hancock Tire. We talked about the potential for the HSC site. If most of you recall, HSC had just pulled the plug on a $1 billion facility out there. But today we talk about Google, we talk about LG, we talk about Atlas BX, as well as continued opportunities each and every day of people, small businesses and large businesses, looking at our community. This time 4 years ago, we were faced with probably one of the biggest challenges that our community had ever faced. We were looking at a reduction of potentially 16,000 soldiers from Fort Campbell. We had this thing called the listening session in January of 2015, and this community stepped up big time. Fort Campbell couldn't hold us all. They turned us away. But this community stood up. We rose up and we showed what our community is all about. And today, in the halls of the Pentagon, they still talk about our listening session here in Clarksville, Montgomery County. For me, the constant in everything that I've just talked about is one word, and that word is we. We did all of this, not one person, not one entity. We did it all, and we should all be proud. So everybody give ourselves a round of applause. 4 years ago, I stood here and I talked about drinking water out of a fire hose. And it was like that, and I'm sure my friend to my right is probably feeling that as well. And I mentioned that the journey was similar to, and again, my staff, this word I'm about to say, they make me say salmon, but I always say salmon, but it's salmon. But I talked about a salmon swimming upstream and about all the obstacles they could face. Swift currents, waterfalls, bears, all these different things that are trying to impede your journey. And a salmon typically goes upstream, lays their eggs and dies. But we didn't go upstream. We didn't lay our eggs and dies. We're continuing to swim. But the swim is different today. We had people that were fishing for us that are now standing in the water helping us push. We have people helping us over the waterfalls. We have people that are shooing the bears away. So we as a community are doing all these things. Late President George H.W. Bush wrote a letter to a friend about what his advice would be to young people. And even though as I look around the room, there's a lot of young people in here, there are some that are a little bit longer in the tooth as well. But I think his letter would be good advice for all of us, and so I'd like for you to hear it. I cannot single out the one greatest challenge in my life. I've had a lot of challenges, and my advice to young people might be as follows. Don't get down when life takes a bad turn. Out of adversity comes challenge and often success. Don't blame others for your setbacks. When things go well, give credit to others. Don't talk all the time. Listen to your friends and mentors and learn from them. Don't brag about yourself. Let others point out your virtues and your strong points. Give someone else a hand. When a friend is hurting, show that friend you care. Nobody likes an overbearing big shot. As you succeed, be kind to people. Thank those who help you along the way. Don't be afraid to shed a tear when your heart is broken because a friend is hurting. And lastly, and say your prayers. We are a community that's about to turn the corner, a community that is realizing we have our own identity. Do we have challenges ahead of us? Sure we do. But with God's grace and all of us swimming together, we're going to be the envy of every community in the United States. I want to thank you all again for coming out today. I'm looking forward to our question and answer time and sharing the stage with my good friend, Mayor Joe Pitts. Thank you.
See, I told you it was going to be different, didn't I? Thank you, Mayor. Now we get to hear from our city mayor, Mr. Joe Pitts.
Thank you and good morning to everybody, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning. As we begin, I, like Mayor Durrett, want to recognize a few people. She has already been recognized, but the First Lady of the City of Clarksville, my wife Cynthia, who's here, I want to say thank you and I love you. I'm supposed to follow the mayor here, so. This is a great audience, and I'm just so looking forward to engaging with you in the Q&A coming forward. But I want to recognize the city council members who are here, so I'm going to ask them to stand collectively, and I'm going to call them by name, and then we're going to have a city council meeting because we've got a quorum. So city council members, please stand. In the back, we have Chairman Jeff Burkhart, we have Chair Lady Wanda Smith, we have Council Lady Stacy Streetman, Councilman Travis Holloman, Chairman Bill Powers, Chairman Jeff Hindley, Councilman Richard Garrett, Council Lady and Chair Lady Valerie Guzman, and Chairman David Allen. We have Chairman Tim Chandler, and then Councilman Ron Erb. So please, ladies and gentlemen, thank them for their service. And thankfully, there's only 12 of them instead of 21. So. And we have city employees here as well, and a special thanks to Richard Stevens and Sam Stoffrigan for their help in making this possible for me. Any other city employees? I know Brian Taylor and CDE, y'all are city employees when you want to be. I understand, and I don't blame you. I want to pause and also say thank you to Joel Wallace. Joel is the one that suggested this format change. So Joel, who couldn't get a ticket, but if you're watching live stream, hey Joel, he suggested this format change, so give credit where credit's due. Mayor Durrett said 4 years ago he was 100 and some odd days into his term. I'm 15 days into my term. And as you might guess, I'm quite busy getting to know council members and what their hopes and dreams and aspirations and goals are for their ward and our city. I'm trying to learn department heads and departments and employees, and we've spent a fair amount of time doing that. But people have also asked, what have you found? Well, here's what I've found, at least some of the things I've found. I found the bathroom. And when you're 60 years old, Mayor Durrett, like we are, you got to find the bathroom. The best recipe for coffee in the city hall is you go down the elevator to the first floor, out the door, cross First Street, and go into yada yada. That's the best. And I've also learned in my various meetings with sports leagues and organizations across the city that lacrosse is not just a Buick, Sidney Johnson, but it's a sport. And it is a growing sport. What I haven't found is a light switch. If you've driven by City Hall, you've seen it lit up like a Christmas tree, James. And we're trying to take steps to fix that and try to be good stewards. I know CDE wants us to keep the lights on to keep our bill up, but I want to be good stewards of our resources. I've also found that we have an outstanding workforce in our city government. A young man by the name of Austin, Bill Harpel brought him to my attention almost from the first day. Every morning before sunrise, he gets out and he runs the street sweeper downtown. And before many of you even turn over, except today, he's out and he's doing his job faithfully. And so I want to say thank you to Austin. I want to also say thank you to Maurice Reeves, a firefighter who's getting ready to retire on Friday after more than 30 years employed as a firefighter in our city. So thank you, Maurice. I also want to say thank you to Kayla Downey, an accountant in our finance and revenue office, who just shows up every day and does her job, and we appreciate that. Robert Kendrick, who is over our codes abatement section in our building and codes department. If you've got a concern about high grass or graffiti or some other issue with your next door neighbor, you call Robert and he'll take good care of you. But I've also found that we have a city that's alive and vibrant and diverse and strong. We have a rich cultural organizations like the Korean American Association, like the Clarksville Hispanic American Family Foundation, like the German American community who enrich our city, especially in October during Oktoberfest. But we are 234 years old, and I believe our best days are ahead of us as a city. And speaking of old, someone said I'm the oldest first-term mayor in the city of Clarksville. Quite a dubious distinction, but I'll accept it nonetheless. It is great to be here with my good friend, Mayor Jim Durrett. He and I have committed to working together. We have already done some things together. I'll be dropping the ball at the broom ball competition, the grudge match between the county mayor and his team and the commanding general, General Pappas, and his team on Wednesday night at the Downtown Commons, 6 o'clock, Mayor, yes, I think. Sir. Y'all come on out and watch those two teams go at it. We will have paramedics standing by. Not for them, but for me, because slipping on ice is certainly a possibility. We also, with Mary and Cindy, we walked in the Christmas parade in December together. And we will be doing other things together, like having standing meetings where we just come and share information, because the heart to our success is communication, and we will be communicating. You know, before we take some questions from you, I want to just kind of list a few priorities. I've got a list as long as a nickel shoestring of things that we are doing. First, road projects. You know, everybody complains about traffic like the weather, but very little is done about it. Well, we're getting ready to do some things about it. We are developing a Traffic 2020 plan with our street department, Stan Williams and the MPO, and our state partners at the Tennessee Department of Transportation. We're going to employ some common sense solutions very quickly to address some of the stranglehold that traffic has got on our city. We've also got some very active projects in our police department, everything from body-worn cameras, and you'll hear a little bit more about that, to communication headsets for our firefighters so they can communicate better when they're on the truck and at the fire scene. We want to make sure they have what they need. We're doing a lot of work in the area of parks and recreation. Everybody kind of understands that the city bid, we were down to two finalists, and we came up a little short on the Tennessee State Soccer Association and being able to participate in that process. But we are undaunted, and we are moving forward in providing parks and recreation opportunities for our community. Our street department continues work on the Northeast Corridor. A lot has been done as far as talking about that. It's time to put those words into action that will connect Exit 4 area to Exit 1 down on Trenton Road, and then also connecting Wilma Rudolph Boulevard to Crozier Boulevard. And we look forward to that. There are other key projects underway, and signalization, synchronizing those signals on Wilma Rudolph. And we're not waiting for a federal or state grant to do something about Boot Hill and the lights at Beach Street and Peters Mill, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go up that hill at 4 o'clock any day. And it takes 30 to 45 minutes to get over the hill. And we're not waiting for state or federal money to do that. We're going to get right on that, and our street department is working, so I want to say thank you for that. We talk about pedestrian safety. Sidewalks is certainly important, but what happens when you get to an intersection? You got to be able to get across the street very safely. Councilman Chandler has come up with some ideas, and then we look forward to exploring those ideas. Councilman Chandler, thank you for bringing that to us. Some creative ways and safe ways to move you across the street if you have to cross. But I wouldn't do that right now if I were you. And then the long-awaited improvements at Edmondson Ferry Road and the bypass. Those orange barrels have been in the way far too long. And so finally, we're going to get those out of the way and get that project finished. And so I'm very thankful for our contractor who's doing that. You know, city engagement and investment, along with the Tennessee General Assembly's passage of the IMPROVE Act, is giving us resources to move some projects from idea and conception to reality. And we will continue to do that, such as the widening of Rossview Road there in front of the school. If you've been in that area lately, you know what that means. But we're going to get the utilities moved, and that road, you'll see construction starting hopefully very soon. We talked about body-worn cameras. I used to think BWC meant bikers who care, but it's body-worn cameras now. But our police department is actively working to deploy those body-worn cameras to give our public, our community, a greater sense of comfort that when they're out there doing their job, they're protecting you and they're protecting us and they're protecting themselves. And I'm very thankful to the Lord that we've not had any incidents that other communities across our state and nation have had. And so we're very grateful for that. But we're also planning another precinct for District 3. It's been talked about to do it in front of Rossview School Complex. And we are thankful, Mr. House, and for the school board's participation in that. And we look forward to seeing that move to fruition as well. And I'm going on, but we've already talked about the athletic complex, and we've met, and we look forward to deploying that possibility. But let me just stop right here and say this. We are committed as a city government to expanding recreation opportunities and facilities in this city throughout the city. We will do that in the coming 2 or 3 years. We also have a facilities master plan by the Parks and Recreation Department that we'll be looking at and using as a guide going forward to make sure that we're following the plan and we're spreading out those opportunities throughout our growing city. You know, in addition to talking about recreation facilities and public safety and traffic, there's some other priorities that we are certainly faced with, and that is the Roxy Regional Theater. We look forward to one day very soon being able to announce a very significant project that will involve the Roxy Regional Theater and keep them alive and vibrant and healthy in our downtown. Downtown's parking conundrum. If anybody's got any suggestions, I'll see you privately in my office over here after. But we're going to address that, and while we don't have anything to say announced today, there are some things that are going on that we hope to be able to announce very soon. We talked about during the campaign small business development and local business development. We are committed to making sure that if you're a local business, that we nurture your growth so that you can grow into a regional company, into a national company, into an international company. We are so grateful for your investment in our community. We want to forge a strong relationship with Austin Peay State University, Dr. White. We will have standing meetings with Dr. White and her folks to make sure that the city is doing all we can to support Austin Peay State University. There's a lot of communities across this state and across this nation that would kill to be in the position that we're in. We've got 2 rivers. We have a military post that is second to none, and we have the fastest growing university in the state system in Austin Peay. And we thank you, Dr. White, and your team for your leadership of that university. And I want to pause here and say, because I know he's up and he's watching, Elliot, hello. The Flying Zucchini Brother. We want to keep soldiers and their families first in our thoughts. We are still at war, ladies and gentlemen. So let's remember that soldiers are in harm's way as we sit here comfortably and eat a good breakfast. Many of them haven't had breakfast yet. So we want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers and make sure we remember the families. And last but not least, we are committed to supporting our city employees. We want a customer service focus. We are going to develop a leadership development program for those employees to allow them to grow both in their skill set as well as economically. We want to make sure that they have every opportunity to succeed in life. You know, those are just a few of the things on our agenda, but I don't want to let this opportunity pass without saying thank you. Thank you for the honor of serving my hometown and your community and our community as your mayor. I'm Mayor 21, I think, in the line of great mayors, and I stand on the shoulders of many of those who've come before me, and I take this as a sacred trust, a covenant. And I promise you, I wake up every day, what can I do to make life better for you and your family and your employees. I'll just wrap up here and just say thank you. God bless you for the opportunity to be with you today, and I'll look forward to your questions, except here. And thank you, Mayor Durrett, for your friendship. I've been a long-time fan of the Durrett family. His father, Bobby Durrett, served our community faithfully on the Clarksville City Council, and Jim Durrett is just following in his footsteps, being a leader that we can all admire. God bless you, and thank you.
I know you're the oldest. Can't believe the oldest. We're ready for questions. You have cards in front of you, and you also have pens. Please write those. But mayors, we have a couple questions to already start off. Some came online, so let's ask those. Not infringing on trademark, Mayor Pitts. We have your campaign was about our city. Many people in our community, whether it be in local coffee shops or around boardroom tables lately, have been talking about the cooperation between city and county government. This is the first time many have said that in 100 years we have mayors that may be this close to one another, not only in age. But with that, if we're thinking about our city, our county, and talking about our vision together as Clarksville Montgomery County, can you speak on, you've touched on it, but both of you, the cooperation between the city and county and how you see that playing out in the next 4 years? Mayor Pitts.
Looking at me?
Yep.
Well, first thing you've got to do is be able to be in the same room with the mayor, and so we've accomplished that this morning. We've got to talk to each other on a regular basis. We will not always agree, but there are going to be times when we do agree, and those are the times when we really need to forge that relationship. You know, we're not ready to announce any joint initiatives this morning other than we pledge to work together. We actually like each other. I have a great respect for him. So I think any relationship starts with that give and take communication. Relationships are built on that as well as respect. So I don't know if I have anything else to add other than that, Mayor Durrett, if you want to take a stab at it.
Well, I think one thing that Jay said, the word maybe, no, it's going to happen. That's what's going to happen. I think it takes two, just like in a marriage. If one spouse isn't carrying the load or they're not communicating, then that marriage is probably going to have troubles. I've got a great wife. I don't want to marry this guy, but I look at it somewhat like a marriage in that we have to communicate. We have to let each other know what's going on. And I'm just so excited because we have someone that I've known for a long time, somebody that I know is a great communicator, somebody that will tell me how they feel about something, and somebody that will be willing to sit down and work out a situation. And so I'm excited about it. We already have a standing meeting set up every 2 weeks where we're going to discuss issues, and those issues may be something totally related to city government, but if Montgomery County can help with it, we want to help with it. It may be something totally related to county government, to schools. And I'm sure if the city can help with it, they will. And so I think it's going to be awesome.
If you have your questions, please raise them high. We have folks coming around to get those. I saw some of you write. Yes, they're all over the house. In the interim, while those questions are being picked up, keep holding them till we can pick them up. Another question that's come, or a statement that I think both of you need to address. Today, we sit with a city council and a county commission that is more diverse than ever before. Can we talk about the importance of that diversity in both the city council and the county commission and what that means for our community? Mayor Durrett.
Well, I think what you see now in our county commission and our city council is who our community truly is. We're a very diverse community. One of the things that I'm really, really proud of is last year we funded a diversity officer in Montgomery County government. It's the first time we've ever had that position. But yeah, I mean, Jay, I just think it's who our community is, and I think the people are finally starting to get in touch with what's going on, and people are starting to elect people that want to make a difference. And so I'm excited about what diversity means. Diversity is not just about race; it's about a lot of different things. And so I think we have the opportunity to enhance that in our community.
Ditto. Yeah, I couldn't say it any better. We have a very strong city council. They are offering themselves up as leaders, but they've also committed to let's be unified in our efforts. We can have robust, healthy debates because we come from different places. Obviously, they represent their ward, so they live in different neighborhoods. But we have 3 new members of the city council this term, and we have young to old, or young to not so young, and we're racially diverse. We just have a lot of people from different backgrounds. We have some that are born and raised here, others come from other places. So it's exciting to kind of watch them work and see the wheels turning. So thank you to the city council we had a great first meeting in January, so that's 1 in a row.
We've got a lot of questions in hand, so we'll just go with the top one. This one says, Sheriff Fuson does a great job with the current budget, no doubt. Signed, the sheriff. No. Thank you. That's a get out jail free card. No. Listed in this, and I'll change it for both. Both city and county police departments and the sheriff's department do a great job. Is there any plans on increasing either the sheriff's department budget or the city department's budget in the future? I know you've talked about cameras, so you go first. Mayor Pitts.
Well, public safety is number 1 in the city, and so we got to pay attention to that. And it's more than just about bodies. It is about giving the police officers the tools they need to do their job. The body-worn cameras being one of those things, but we need to make sure they have the latest training. And I'm just very pleased that Chief Ainsley is taking the lead on making sure that we have a top-notch accredited police department. As far as increasing budget, this is being recorded, so we will do all we can to increase that. We've got some challenges. I'll be honest with you. The city budget has some challenges going into next year, and that's not a warning as much as it is just kind of set the stage where we're going to have to look at doing some things differently. But number 1 on our list is public safety. If you don't do that right, nothing else really matters.
Well, Sheriff, I don't know what kind of budget you're going to submit, so I really can't speak if it's going to be increased. But I think if you'll look at over the last 4 years what we've done with public safety, not only with the Sheriff's Department but with EMS and even with EMA, I think we've probably brought on somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 new Sheriff Department employees. That number may not be exactly right. This year during the budget process, we had an amendment to add 5 SROs to the Sheriff's Department. And I think the one thing that from an increase standpoint that, and Sheriff, this is not a promise, but I think, to the county commissioners that are in the room, I think we have to do something to compensate our public safety employees a little bit better than what we're doing. We have a shortage, in my opinion, in public safety employees, not only with the Sheriff's Department, but also with our EMS department. It's amazing the number of personnel forms that I sign on a daily basis, and most of them are related to the Sheriff's Department and to EMS. And that's not that we have great leadership with the Sheriff, we have great leadership at EMS, but there's just a shortage, and I think a lot of it has to do with the pay. And so I think we're really going to have to address the pay situation with our public safety employees.
We have several questions concerning downtown area and the revitalization of downtown, which I know both mayors care about greatly. They're talking about what plans can you do together to increase the revitalization of downtown, and that might just work in also with a conference or a multi-use center? You had the first one last time, Mayor Dirt.
Well, I think that's one of the agenda items that myself and Mayor Pitts are going to be discussing is downtown and downtown redevelopment. I think one of the things that we've really done a very great job of in the past is looking at recruiting industries and recruiting businesses and those type things. But I think there's also a recruitment aspect into residential development downtown. I think we need to look at that and see if we can't do something to spur to get some more people to live downtown. I think people's what it's all about. But as I mentioned in my remarks, all of the new businesses that have come downtown, I think downtown's got an energy about it right now. I don't think we can let that die. We have talked about a multi-purpose event center. It's something I want to sit down and talk to Mayor Pitts about and let him know what our plans are. I'm not suggesting that the city become a partner in it or anything like that, but we hope if we can get all of our ducks lined up, and we've got them pretty close to being lined up, that we'll have some type of big announcement the first quarter of this year.
Before I answer the question, a couple of people I want to recognize. Invariably, you'll miss somebody, and I've missed a couple of folks. James Halford is our Chief of Staff for the city, and I want to say thank you, James, for your service as a veteran in the Air Force, as well as the long history and successful tenure at Fort Campbell in the Garrison office. So, James, please stand up so we can recognize you. Then I saw Lance Baker slip in the back. Lance, our city attorney, tries to lay low, but we know better. And then I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our son, Jacob Crass, who's here. Jacob, where are you? Stand up, Jacob, so we can recognize you. You know, there was a reason during the campaign that we had the Roxy and a photograph, David Smith, the photographer, in our campaign material, because that is in our thoughts every single day. How do we maintain and sustain a vibrant downtown? So there's been talk about a performing arts center on the Roxy site, but we're going to do everything we can to protect and preserve the Roxy facade and what we're doing. But we're committed, because city and county governments are one of the largest, if not the largest, land owners, property owners in our downtown. So we want to make sure that we keep downtown vibrant. Because as it said, without a historic, unique downtown, we're just 4 exits off the interstate. So we want to make sure that we keep that going. So we're committed.
We have some questions about the Craft Street area and the Vulcan plant. The question is, what can the city and county do about the blighted areas such as the old Frosty Morn along Craft Street, College Street, and what do you see for the future of that area? Any economic advancement for the area? Mayor Pitts.
I didn't write that question, but I'm glad it was asked. The city owns the Frosty Morn property, got it via a tax sale or delinquent taxes. It is no secret that the Vulcan plant is shuttered, and now that property we think is on the market. That is a continuation of the gateway into Austin Peay in our downtown, so we got to pay attention to that. We've tasked our project management staff and community and housing development staff to come up with a corridor plan. Doesn't mean we're going to own, but we want to throw some ideas out about how to improve the look of that part of what I call Pettis Street. Used to be called Pettis Street. It's College Street. But pay attention to our past as far as the tobacco industry, because there's still some tobacco warehouse area over there. The Vulcan plant has been suggested everything from a sports stadium to housing to a big soccer complex. And so we look forward to engaging the public into what that could look like. But it starts with a plan, so we'll have some sort of design plan thrown out there for everybody to see. But we intend to convert the Frosty Morn property into a viable community entity. We talked about during the campaign, our campaign, a Red River Revival Center, because it's in the heart of the Red River district. where it can be a place for food and entertainment and education and other things. And we're evaluating the condition of the building now. It'd be great if we could preserve that iconic smokestack. I grew up here, and that Frosty Morin used to be one of the largest employers. So we're hopeful that we can do that. But trust me, we're evaluating all our options and hopefully get something done. I know Council Lady Smith has been at the forefront for years and trying to address that as well. So we will have something very soon about both the College Street, Pettis Street area as well as the Frosty Morin property. Craft Street, we'll look at that as well. But that's a major thoroughfare, and it's light industrial. We've got rock quarries, and we've got other companies like Morgan Incorporated and others that run up and down through there. So we want to make sure we preserve that as a transportation corridor to keep people from going through downtown to get to North 2nd, Providence Boulevard, and other places.
I need to do a little house cleaning as well. Frank Tate, where are you, Frank? Right, raise your hand up so everybody can see you. Frank Tate, our new Industrial Development Executive Director. Frank, we need to give you a round of applause, too. I didn't mention you earlier. Frank's pretty new to our community, but I know has his heart invested in our community. And I think my response to your question, Jay, or the question would be that I think it goes back to what I said on the previous question about the IDB and getting involved. Maybe there's some partnership opportunities with the county and the city on the Vulcan property, and maybe we can bring in an outside developer to do something like that. But I just think, the old cliche, we have to think outside the box, and I think we need to do that. And so I know that'll be a conversation that Mayor Pitts and I have, and Craft Street could be a part of that as well.
I get to do the first thing. We've seen it in the newspaper, so as being on the EDC board, I get to have the pleasure of doing something publicly that's not been done so far. We'd like to introduce our new CEO of the Economic Development Council, Mr. Jeff Truitt. Before one of these two guys got it, I got it. Which leads to our next question. We talk about a three-legged stool: our city, our county, our business, and our EDC with the Chamber of Commerce, the Industrial Development Board, and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. What is your thoughts about working with the local businesses and the EDC in the future? Starting, who was first? Mayor Dirt.
Well, again, I go back to the remarks I made at the beginning. It's not about one entity. It's not about one individual. It's not about one business. It's all about we. And I think we as a community have to work together. And unfortunately, some of those relationships have been splintered in the past. And so I think we've got to get the glue out. We've got to glue the splinter down, and we've got to make this smooth piece of wood that we're all going to share, and we're all going to work together. So there's been a lot of talk, Jay, about the three-legged stool, and everybody knows if one of the legs is missing, that stool's not going to stand up. I think we have the people in place to make that stool be firm, to make it be strong, to make it be appealing, and to make it be all these great adjectives that we really are. And so I'm ready.
I'm ready too. We need to make sure that we fold into that the Two Rivers Company and that organization, paying attention to downtown as an economic development, community development organization. Mayor Durrett's right. We've got the pieces in place, and now we just kind of need to all get in the same harness and move in the same direction.
We talk about our community, and we have various parts of our city and county. We have Sango, Hilldale, the downtown area, Exit 4. This question is about our Fort Campbell area, and I don't want to forget the south side and across the river folks either. I would be in trouble. What are we going to do about trying to build up the Fort Campbell Boulevard area? Both community leaders talk a lot about downtown, the Exit 4 out in the area of St. Bethlehem. What can we do to lead to new businesses on Fort Campbell and truly support our military that are out that way? Mayor Pitts.
Well, it's City of Clarksville, with generous help from the Department of Transportation State, will be doing sidewalks. We talk about bus shelters in order for folks who take CTS to school or to work, or just back and forth to one of the many commercial developments along that stretch. So that's certainly what we're doing. What we can do is identify what is needed, what is missing. That corridor tends to take care of itself in terms of organic growth of commercial development. And if you don't believe it, go out there and price some property or try to rent some property out there. It's pretty pricey and expensive. But nevertheless, we got to pay attention to it. So allowing people access to the commercial areas via sidewalks, intersections, making sure that our police department is patrolling to ensure that traffic is moving safely, but through that area. So if you're not taking your life into your own hands. But we've got a very vibrant commercial corridor. Thankfully, we got the old Embassy House building torn down and leveled, and it looks much nicer than it did. It's a missing tooth, though, so we're trying to evaluate what will go there. So we're paying attention. We just don't have a very good grasp yet on what else is needed, and we will engage city council members, county commissioners who represent those particular wards specifically on what can be done and should be done.
Well, again, I think it's all about creating opportunity, and regardless of what you read on or see on Facebook, I think we do have to create opportunity. I think we do have to provide some type of incentives for areas that we want to get revitalized. And so does it mean going in and buying some property and maybe working with a developer on something? I don't know. But if you look at what's happened in our community, the Madison Street corridor is a perfect example. The Publix, that was done through tax increment financing. It's been a great program, and regardless, again, of what people will say on Facebook or even maybe some of you in this room, it's an awesome program because we had nothing. We had nothing but an old rundown hospital that, with all due respect, we're having trouble keeping the grass cut around it. But now look what we have. And we did that with an incentive that cost us nothing, but look what we gained.
Good questions continue on coming. Let's talk about housing right now. Right now we have more realtors than we actually have houses on the market, according. It's a great time to sell, isn't it? But, however, we have more and more people coming to our community because of the growth of our community. The question concerns or centers around, number one, housing. What can we do to help improve housing as well as zoning? And how do we make sure that there is affordable housing for those that live in Clarksville and work in Clarksville?
I'm glad I'm not a real estate agent. No, I'm kidding. First of all, about housing, I think our housing industry here in Clarksville gets beat up sometimes, not only in zoning cases, but again on social media. And I made myself a promise about social media this morning. I'm not going to disclose to you, but I got to get off of it. but anyway, they get beat up. But, really all they're doing, it's just like this breakfast. There was a certain amount of tickets, and the tickets sold out. But there was a demand to come to this, not because of me, probably because of Joe, but there was a demand to come here. And all they're doing is supplying a demand. Affordable housing. Jay, we just approved a project out off of Dunlop Lane through a pilot project. County commissioners, thank you for approving that. That's going to provide a lot of affordable housing units, and it's really workforce housing. So, again, I think it goes back to the conversation or the comments I've made regarding sitting down with people, creating partnerships, creating relationships to bring those things that we need into our community.
When you talk about affordable housing, you're talking about people who spend no more than roughly 35 to 40% of their take-home pay to pay for housing. And if your pay is not enough, that limits your options and opportunities. The city owns a lot of property, I've discovered. And we will be making those lots and things available with incentives to try to get developers and just citizens engaged in getting that property back on the tax roll in order to build affordable housing. The Clarksville Association of Realtors, it was mentioned, they are having a housing summit or a housing gathering, a conversation, and sometime this spring, Melinda. Thank you, February. That's spring. To talk, we hope, that's to talk about housing and zoning and regulations and what we can do as a community to encourage more affordable housing. I think about people like Alan Mosier, who's doing everything he can for infill development, East College Street, down there off Red River Street, where he's building homes and trying to maintain and keep the cost to the purchase, to the buyer as low as possible for first-time home buyers. We've got our Keith Lampkin in the City Department of Housing and Community Development with first-time homebuyer funds and other funds that we can use to provide incentives and help that first-time homebuyer and really just anybody who's on the lower end of the economic spectrum to build and have a home. And then partnership with the county government, we look forward to exploring that as well. But you know, it's no one magic answer. It's a multitude of things that we have to do, and you'll be seeing a lot of that. But I'm just astounded, Council, at how much property the city owns. We've got to do something about that.
It's been hard trying to get all these questions in because I have 20 more questions, and I've been told that we only have one more question that you get to answer. You want to? A lot of questions now have come, and we've talked about a lot of topics, a lot more from high-speed internet through everyone in the whole county to more affordable housing, especially certain stoplights and bus places and how we can do that. But I think one of the questions that I have the most about still in hand is about recreation. And we've talked about it from both the multi-use complex that Mayor Durd has talked about, Joe's talked about, the different sports complexes. The main question comes from everybody. A quality of life needs to be held in our community. We don't need to go to Nashville for everything. It's great to stay in Clarksville to do things. What can we do to help promote public, private, city, county events that we can continue to bring people to Clarksville and also give them opportunities in Clarksville so they don't have to go to Nashville?
Well, if you think about recreation and quality of life, you think about music and the arts. We have Austin Peay State University with a beautiful Arts Plus Design building. Barry Jones, the dean of the school. Barry, thank you for your work and your faculty's work. We've got to engage them more in our community to make sure, but arts has got to be at the heart of what we do. Greenways, we're aggressively expanding our Greenways program. Talked a little bit about some of the parks plans, but our Greenway program will continue to grow because we want to link every part of our community and even outside of our community via Greenway. Bike lanes, sidewalks, healthy options and choices to get some cars off the road, knowing in the South we love our cars and have a hard time giving that up. Music, so we're just blessed in this community to have the number of organizations and people who have tremendous talent. Sidney Johnson was mentioned before breakfast, the number of people who work for him in Nashville that are budding songwriters and singers and entertainers. We've got a lot of talent in this community as well. And so we just need to harness that and use the city and the county mayor's offices as a bully pulpit to promote that. And we'll be doing that, and that's on my list for our first meeting, Mayor.
Well, I think quality of life issues are very, very important. I think from the county, I think the city's done an awesome job with it. And I know Mayor Pitts, he talked about it in his opening remarks about Parks and Rec and what he wanted to do with that department and with the different things that they can do. we get beat up a lot, we being Montgomery County government, about, we're investing all our money in downtown, we're investing all this money in the Commons. I think we put about $4.2 million into the Commons. Right now, we've got a $6 million project out at Civitan Park with really a tremendous amount of support from our Rotary clubs here in Clarksville. But we're building a challenge field, or an ADA field, and it's one of only a few in the state. Out at Rotary Park, we're hopefully start construction, or hopefully bid out a nature center that'll be named after a great individual that left us a couple of years ago around Christmas, in Wade Bourne. And it'll honor Wade's legacy, but it's going to provide another quality of life thing for our community. It's going to be a tremendous project. And then out in the Fredonia community, we're revitalizing the old Fredonia School and creating a community center out there. And then lastly, the multipurpose event center. So I think the wheels are in motion, but I'm going to be honest with you. It can't all be done on this guy's shoulders, or my shoulders, or the commissioner's shoulders, or the council shoulders. It's going to take people like each and every one of you in this room, that if you believe in that project, you've got to stand up for it, and you've got to be vocal about it. So many times the negative people outvoice the positive people, but so many times the positive people greatly outnumber the negative people. And so we need your voice. If you want those type things, and Mayor Pitts brings those to the table, he needs your voice. If the county does it, we need your voice.
Thank you to both of you. Give them a round of applause. As I started off by asking the first question, I talked about our city, our county, our vision. I think we have one. I think we have two approachable mayors that want to hear from you, but I think both have given a challenge, and Mayor Dirt gave it largely at the end. It just doesn't sit on their shoulders. It sits on each one of us. You've had some great questions. You have some great input. It's our time to work. It's our time to have that vision. It's our time for our community to be number one in the whole state, and it's going to take each one of us. On behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, please be involved. Join its committees, join the IDB, join the CVB, because it's great to have everyone's input, and the more that we have input, the more things we can do in our community, and the stronger our community can grow. Please look at our website. We have Citizens for Fort Campbell coming up soon. We have the Home and Garden Show. We have Business After Hours. It's great times to meet folks, to share ideas, and just to enjoy each other's fellowship and what we're doing in our community. Thank you for coming. For our video audience, thank you for participating. We've had a great number that viewed today. And thank you very much for being a part of our community. Have a good day.